Okay, so get this. We're diving into AI that learns, like, kind of like we do by critiquing.
Yeah.
Wild, right?
It is. It really is.
Forget just memorizing textbooks. These AI models are actually learning by analyzing what's wrong, especially in STEM fields.
Exactly.
Our main source today is this research paper called Critique Fine-Tuning. It's
Yeah, this one is
about to turn how we think about AI learning upside down.
big time.
So it really challenges that assumption that more data equals smarter AI, right?
It really does, yeah. That's been a big assumption, I think, in the field for a long time.
Right. Usually we train AI with something called supervised fine-tuning SFT for short.
Right.
Basically, we feed the model tons of correct answers and just say, hey, figure out the pattern.
Yep.
But think about it, if you've already read a library's worth of books on, let's say, physics,
Wow.
will reading more books on physics make a huge difference?
Right. You hit a ceiling.
Probably not, right?
Yeah. There's a limit to how much you can improve just by, imitating.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
the researchers were like, okay, let's try something totally different.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where critique fine-tuning comes in, or CFT.
That's right.
So instead of giving the AI model like a perfect answer key, they give it wrong answers
Interesting.
and then a critique of what's wrong and how to actually improve it. It's like having a teacher who points out your mistakes
Right.
and helps you understand why they're wrong, not just like, here's the right answer.
Like giving you the reasoning
Yes, exactly.
instead of just the solution.
And what's remarkable is that this CFT approach consistently
This is the surprising part.
outperforms the traditional SFT,
It does.
like across the board.
Across the board. Yeah, they tested it on like all these different models and STEM subjects using a data set called WebInstruct.
Okay.
And CFT consistently came out on top,
Wow.
boosting accuracy by 4 to 10% on average.
I mean, 4 to 10% might not sound like a lot, but
Right. But here's the thing. The CFT models needed way less data to achieve that.
yeah.
We're talking 50,000 examples versus millions for SFT.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's a huge difference in efficiency.
So less data, less processing power,
Mm-hmm.
but better results.
Better results, yeah.
That's a game changer.
It really changes how we think about, scaling these models.
How is critiquing actually helping the AI learn better?
So let me give you a concrete example
Mm.
from the research. They tested these models on this tricky math reasoning problem. And the SFT model really struggled
Okay.
because it was trying to mimic patterns from
Okay.
previous solutions that weren't really applicable in this case.
Yeah.
But the CFT model, because it had learned to analyze and find flaws in the reasoning, it could actually,
Yeah.
adjust its approach
Fancy.
and get to the right answer.
So it's not just about like memorizing steps, it's about understanding the underlying logic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And to make sure this wasn't just some fluke, the researchers did what are called
Ablation studies.
ablation studies. Sounds very technical.
Yeah. It sounds scary, but it's not that complicated. Think of it like testing whether the special ingredient is what's making the cake taste good.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Right. So they experimented with different sources for the critiques, different types of data sets, even a less powerful critique model,
Uh-huh.
and CFT still delivered.
So they're basically trying to rule out any other factors that might have been skewing the results.
Exactly. They wanted to make sure it wasn't just a coincidence.
Yeah.
Rigorously validated it, and the results were consistent.
Wow.
Critiquing works.
Amazing.
Yeah.
But there's another piece of this puzzle, right? Didn't they compare CFT to something called reinforcement learning?
You're right. Reinforcement learning, or RL, is another way to train AI,
Okay.
but it's a lot more like training a pet,
Reward good behavior, discourage the bad.
Exactly. Reward good behavior, discourage bad behavior. It's really powerful, but it takes a lot of computational resources and time. And how did CFT stack up against this, more intensive method?
Well, get this, CFT performed just as well as some RL models, even though it needed a lot less training time and processing power.
Okay, that's officially mind-blowing.
Yeah, it's like finding a shortcut to the same destination,
Right.
but with a much smoother ride.
So this seemingly simple act of pointing out mistakes
Yes.
and explaining why they're wrong is incredibly effective.
It is. It really is. It makes you wonder, are we using this enough in our own learning and teaching?
Right.
You know?
It's making me rethink my whole study routine.
Yeah, me too.
But before we get too philosophical here, let's acknowledge that
Yeah.
even groundbreaking research has its limitations, right?
Of course, always room for improvement.
What were some of the limitations the researchers pointed out?
So one primary limitation is that they relied on a critique data set that was actually generated by another AI,
Okay.
GPT-4o specifically. Now, GPT-4o is powerful,
Yeah.
but it's not perfect.
Right.
So there's a chance that some of the critiques themselves might have had some errors.
So it's kind of like a game of telephone. A little bit of the message might get distorted along the way.
Exactly. Precisely.
Yeah.
It's possible that that noise in the data, in the critique data,
Yeah.
had some impact on, how well the CFT model learned.
That makes sense. It's like having a teacher who, sometimes gives slightly off feedback. It can throw you off.
Right. Exactly.
But despite that, the fact that CFT still outperformed SFT consistently is really impressive.
It speaks to how robust this approach is.
Yeah.
Even with imperfect critiques, it can still learn.
So this opens up a whole new avenue
It does. It really does.
for AI research.
Big time.
Totally. But before we get lost in the research rabbit hole here, let's switch gears and talk about, the practical side of things. This research has got to have real world implications.
Oh, for sure.
Right.
Absolutely.
I'm already imagining AI tutors that can give personalized feedback to students. Yes.
Helping them understand their mistakes and learn better.
That's a great example. And it's not just education.
Right.
Think about scientific research.
Excellent.
AI powered by CFT could be helping scientists analyze, these complex data sets, identify potential flaws in experiments, even generate new hypotheses.
Wow, that could speed up
Yeah.
the pace of discovery dramatically.
Mm.
We could be talking about, breakthroughs in medicine, climate science.
Absolutely, all of that.
You name it.
It's like giving researchers a cognitive boost,
Yeah.
helping them see connections they might have missed.
And let's not forget about creative fields, too.
Oh,
Right? Did CFT help artists, writers, musicians refine their craft?
I think so. Instead of, just catching typos, imagine an AI writing assistant that analyzes the structure and flow of your story,
Ooh, I like that.
suggests different plot twists,
That would be cool.
or helps you come up with more interesting characters.
And because CFT is so efficient, we don't need to wait for, these massive supercomputers to make this stuff happen.
That's the best part.
We can start experimenting with it, with smaller models now.
So we could actually see some of these applications
Yeah.
emerged in the near future.
Absolutely, I think so.
That's incredibly exciting. But I also can't help but think about the downsides, right?
Of course.
With any new tech, got to be aware of the risks.
Yeah, got to be careful.
What are some of the things that come to mind for you?
Well, one thing that worries me is misuse.
Yeah.
If AI can learn to critique effectively, it could also learn to, manipulate people's opinions or beliefs.
Right. That's a valid concern.
Right.
It's crucial to ensure that these systems are developed and used responsibly, right?
Absolutely. We have to be mindful of where the critiques are coming from and watch out for bias in the data.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Big time.
It's a reminder that with great power comes great responsibility, right?
It really is.
But we can't let fear stop us.
No, we can't.
The potential benefits of CFT are just too big to ignore.
Too significant, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad we're at least having these conversations.
Yeah, me too.
It shows we're taking this seriously.
Now, there's another aspect of CFT that I'm fascinated by, and it relates to this idea of artificial general intelligence, or AGI.
Okay.
Do you think CFT could actually play a role in developing more general purpose AI systems?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, AGI, this idea of, creating AI that has human-level cognitive abilities. That's the holy grail, right?
Yeah.
And some experts think that CFT could be a big step towards that.
Interesting.
Because, one of the things that makes humans intelligent is our ability to learn from feedback, right?
Right.
To analyze our mistakes and adapt.
So by teaching AI to critique,
Yeah.
are we essentially teaching it to think more like humans?
I mean, in a way, yes.
Wow.
We're moving beyond just pattern recognition.
Okay, now we're getting into sci-fi territory here.
A little bit. They're important questions.
But these are important questions
For sure.
to consider as AI keeps evolving.
Absolutely.
Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. The research is still early, right?
It is. It is.
There's so much more to learn.
Lots to explore.
But even at this early stage, the findings are incredibly exciting.
They are.
And they suggest that we're on the cusp of something big here.
I think so.
A major breakthrough.
It's really a testament to the researchers who developed this.
Yeah.
I mean, they challenged what everyone thought,
Yeah.
and dared to think differently about AI learning.
And it's a reminder that sometimes the most groundbreaking discoveries come from questioning assumptions
Exactly.
and exploring, unconventional approaches.
For sure.
But let's shift gears for a second
Okay.
and talk about what all of this means for our listener today, right?
Okay, let's bring it back.
What are some of the key takeaways you want folks to walk away with from this first part of the discussion?
Well, first of all, this research shows that AI is becoming much more than just a tool,
Yeah.
It's becoming a partner in learning and discovery.
And that partnership has the potential to transform, like so many fields.
It does.
Education, scientific research, creative endeavors.
Absolutely.
And beyond.
Yeah. But this also comes with responsibility.
Yeah.
We need to be mindful of the ethical implications,
Yeah.
especially as it gets more sophisticated.
So crucial to continue these conversations
Yeah.
about the impact of AI on society,
For sure.
involving experts from various disciplines to ensure it's used responsibly.
Absolutely. We need to make sure AI benefits humanity as a whole.
Well said. But before we get too philosophical,
Yeah.
I want to circle back to something you mentioned earlier about CFT's potential role in the development of, AGI. Do you think that's actually a real possibility?
It's definitely a long-term goal.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no guarantee ACT will be the key to, unlocking AGI.
Right.
But it's a promising area of research.
Yeah. Because it gets at one of the core things about human intelligence, right?
Yeah.
Like our ability to learn from feedback, adapt our thinking as we refine CFT and explore its potential. Who knows what we might discover?
I mean, we might even learn something about the nature of intelligence itself.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Right.
Yeah.
Both artificial and human.
It suggests that AI research isn't just about building machines that can think.
Mm-hmm.
It's about understanding what it even means to think.
Exactly.
But before we get too philosophical, let's bring it back down to those practical applications.
Okay.
We've talked about education, scientific research, creative fields. Are there any other areas where you see CFT having a big impact?
Oh, I mean, the possibilities are huge.
Yeah.
Healthcare.
Ooh.
Imagine AI that can help doctors diagnose diseases,
Yeah.
analyze medical images, even develop personalized treatment plans.
That's a great one. And I could also see CFT being useful in, areas like finance, where AI could help analysts identify market trends, assess risks, make more informed decisions.
Absolutely.
Or even like in law,
Uh-huh.
where AI could help lawyers research precedents,
Yeah.
draft legal documents, prepare for court.
So many possibilities.
The applications are mind-boggling. As CFT continues to develop,
Yeah.
I think we're going to see even more uses emerge.
This is why I love exploring these topics,
Me too.
It's like getting a glimpse into the future,
It is.
seeing all the possibilities.
It's exciting times.
But with any powerful technology, we have to acknowledge the limitations
Of course, yeah.
and the potential downsides.
We've talked about the bias, right?
Yeah.
The potential for manipulation.
Mm.
We need to be incredibly careful about where the critiques are coming from.
Yeah.
And make sure the models are trained on diverse data.
Otherwise, we risk creating AI systems that just perpetuate existing inequalities, right?
Exactly.
And CFT, like any AI, has potential for misuse. It's vital to have ethical guidelines, regulations.
Oh, yeah.
To ensure it's used for good.
Absolutely.
Ethical considerations should be at the forefront
At the forefront, for
of all AI development, right?
Absolutely.
We need to make sure we're asking the right questions,
Yeah.
considering the consequences.
Yeah.
So we've covered a lot of ground
We have.
in this deep dive into CFT, right?
Yeah.
From, the technical details to the bigger picture stuff.
The implications.
It's clear this research has the potential to reshape the world.
Big time.
Before we wrap up, I want to pose one final question to you and to our listeners.
Okay, I'm ready.
If CFT can teach AI to critique so effectively, are we on the path to creating AI that can think critically, independently,
That's the question.
creatively even? And if so, what does that mean for humanity?
Wow. Those are questions we'll be debating for a long time.
Right?
We're in deep territory here.
We would
No
only-
easy answers.
No easy answers, but it's important to approach these questions, with both a sense of wonder.
Yeah.
And caution.
That's
right.
great.
It's an incredible time to be witnessing, all these advancements in AI.
It is.
It's a time for reflection, careful consideration of what it means to be human in this new world.
Couldn't agree more.
But for now, let's pause, gather our thoughts. When we come back, we'll delve into some final reflections on the implications of CFT and explore what it all might mean for the future of, how we learn, work, and even think alongside AI.
Looking forward to it.
Ah.
Welcome back. We've been unpacking this groundbreaking research on critique fine-tuning.
Where AI learns by analyzing what's wrong, not just copying what's right. And you know me, I always think, how's this going to change things?
Yeah.
What are the applications of CFT?
Well, we were just starting to touch on those possibilities before. Where does your mind go first?
Honestly, for me, it's got to be education. Imagine a world where AI tutors don't just give you the right answer, but they actually help you understand where your thinking went off track.
That's what's so cool about CFT. It's not just about memorizing. It's about really understanding. So instead of just drumming facts, these AI tutors could actually walk students through the reasoning, help them identify their own misconceptions, and even tailor explanations to their learning styles.
It'd be like having a personal Socrates just, following you around, pushing you towards deeper understanding.
And it goes way beyond the classroom, too. Think about scientific research. AI powered by CFT could help scientists analyze those massive data sets, or identify potential biases in experiments, or even come up with new hypotheses.
That could totally speed up the pace of discovery. I mean, we could be talking about breakthroughs in medicine, climate science, all that.
For sure. It's like giving those researchers a boost, helping them see the patterns and connections they might have missed. And what about creative fields? Could this help artists or writers or musicians,
Oh, totally. Instead of just catching typos, imagine an AI writing assistant that, analyzes the structure of your story. Suggests plot twists, or helps you develop, more interesting characters.
Or a music composer, it could give you feedback on, melody and harmony, rhythm, push the boundaries. And here's the thing, CFT is so efficient that we don't need to wait for these, giant supercomputers. We start testing this on smaller models right now.
So, we could see some of this stuff happening soon.
I think so. Yeah, in the very near future.
That's awesome. But I gotta ask, what about the potential downsides?
Right, of course, yeah. I mean, any new technology comes with risks. We got to be careful.
What are some of the things that worry you?
Well, misuse is a big one, right? If AI can learn to critique effectively, it could also learn to, manipulate people, change their opinions and beliefs.
That's a big one, for sure. We need to be sure these systems are being developed and used responsibly.
Absolutely. We have to think about where those critiques are coming from and watch out for bias in the data.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's with great power
comes great responsibility.
Yeah.
Exactly. But we can't let fear stop us from exploring this.
Right. The potential benefits are huge. We can't ignore them.
Too significant to ignore, yeah. I'm glad we're at least talking about it. It shows we're taking it seriously.
For sure. There's another thing about CFT that I think is really interesting. It relates to that idea of artificial general intelligence, AGI.
Oh, right, yeah.
Do you think this could actually play a role in developing, more general purpose AI?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? AGI. That idea of AI that has human-level intelligence. That's the big goal.
And some people think CFT could be a big step toward getting there.
Yeah, there's a reason for that. I mean, think about what makes humans intelligent. Part of it is our ability to learn from feedback, right? To analyze what we did wrong and adapt.
So by teaching AI to critique, are we teaching it to think more like us?
In a way, yeah. We're moving beyond simple pattern matching and towards something, more like real thinking.
Okay, now we're in science fiction territory. But it is a big question.
It is a big question. And as AI gets more powerful, it's something we're going to have to keep thinking about.
Oh, we're still early, right? With this research, I mean. Lots to learn.
Early stages, yeah. But the findings are super exciting. It really suggests we might be onto something really big.
It's a real testament to those researchers, They weren't afraid to go against the grain and really think differently.
Exactly. It shows that sometimes the biggest discoveries come from, questioning the old ways of doing things.
So let's bring it back to our listener, right?
Right. Yeah. What are the key takeaways from this part of the conversation?
What do you want folks to remember?
Well, this research is showing that AI is becoming more than just a tool. It's becoming a partner in learning, in discovery.
And that has the potential to change so many fields, like we've said, from education to research, creative stuff, and beyond.
But that also means we've got a responsibility to be careful. We've got to be mindful of those ethical implications, especially as AI gets smarter.
So we got to keep having these conversations about the impact of AI. and get experts from all different fields involved to make sure it's used responsibly.
Couldn't agree more. We need to make sure this benefits everyone, the whole of humanity.
Well said. Now, remember we talked earlier about CFT and its role in the development of AGI. Do you really think that's possible?
It's definitely a long-term goal,
Yeah.
and there's no guarantee CFT will be the answer, but it's a promising direction.
Because it gets at that idea of human intelligence, right? Our ability to learn from feedback to change our thinking.
Exactly.
Hmm.
And who knows, as we explore CFT, we might learn something about the very nature of intelligence.
Ooh, that's deep.
Right. Both artificial and our own.
It makes you think maybe AI research isn't just about building machines that think. Maybe it's about understanding what thinking even is. But before we get too philosophical here, let's come back to the practical stuff. We talked about education, research, creative fields, but are there any other areas where you see CFT making a big impact?
Oh, so many possibilities. Healthcare, for one. Imagine AI that can help doctors diagnose diseases, analyze medical images, even come up with personalized treatment plans.
Oh, that's a good one. I could see it being huge in finance too. AI that could analyze the markets, assess risk, help people make better investment decisions.
Or in law, it could help lawyers with research, drafting documents, preparing for court, the list goes on.
So many applications. And as CFT develops, I think we're going to see even more. That's what I love about exploring these cutting-edge topics. It's like peeking into the future.
Exciting times for sure. But we've got to remember that no technology is perfect, and CFT is no exception. Like we said, one of the big concerns is bias, both in the data and in the models themselves.
Right. We got to be incredibly careful about where those critiques are coming from
Yes,
and make
indeed.
sure the models are trained on a diverse range of data.
Otherwise, we risk creating AI that just makes existing inequalities worse.
Exactly. And like any AI, CFT has the potential to be misused. We have to establish ethical guidelines and regulations, right? And make sure it's used for the right reasons.
Absolutely. Ethics has to be at the forefront of AI development. We have to make sure we're asking the right questions, thinking about the consequences.
Well said. We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive into CST, from the nitty-gritty details to the big picture implications. It's clear this research could change the world in profound ways. But before we wrap up, I have one last question for you and for our listeners.
Okay, shoot. I'm intrigued.
If CFT can teach AI to critique, does that mean we're on track to create AI that can really think critically, independently, even creatively? And if so, what does that mean for us?
Wow, those are some big questions. We'll probably be debating them for a long time. No easy answers there. But it's important to approach these questions with, a sense of wonder, but also caution.
I couldn't agree more. It's an amazing time to be seeing all these advances in AI. It's a time for some deep reflection and thinking about what it means to be human in this new world. But let's pause here and gather our thoughts. When we come back, we'll dive into some final thoughts on the implications of CFT and what it all means for the future of, well, everything. How we learn, how we work, how we even think alongside AI.
Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into critique fine-tuning.
We've been looking at how AI is learning to analyze, really think critically.
And it makes you wonder what happens when AI can learn like us. What does the future hold?
Big questions, right. And even if you aren't like a tech person, this research is important.
It really is. It changes what AI can do, how fast it learns. It impacts everyone.
Think back to all those areas we talked about, like education and
But
healthcare,
scientific discovery.
the arts.
And there's more finance, law, engineering, all those fields.
CFT could revolutionize them, make AI more powerful, more efficient, more adaptable.
It's like we're giving these AI systems a brain boost. Exactly. And that means breakthroughs we can barely imagine right now.
New medicines, climate solutions, art that pushes the boundaries.
Solutions to problems we haven't even thought of yet. But we can't forget any powerful tech. There's a flip side.
Right, we talked about bias, about manipulation, about what happens when AI starts thinking for itself.
These aren't just what-if questions anymore. We have to deal with them now.
We need to talk about AI ethics, put safeguards in place so it's used for good.
Absolutely. But we can't be paralyzed by fear either. The potential benefits are just too big to ignore.
I agree. So as we wrap up, what are some key takeaways for our listeners?
Well, first, AI is evolving incredibly fast. Techniques like CFT are changing the game.
Second, AI's future isn't set in stone. We shape it. We decide how it develops, what values it reflects.
And lastly, never underestimate critical thinking.
It's so important. In a world where AI is everywhere, being able to analyze info, to spot the problems, to ask the tough questions, that's what matters.
Those are the skills that'll help us navigate the future, a future we're starting to see, through research like this.
That's what the deep dive is all about: staying curious, staying engaged, staying sharp.
Thanks for joining us on this journey.
Until next time, keep diving deep.